That's Tom Downey. I am Brett Scott. All right, Tom. Big topic this week. We're getting into it. What are the Cowboys' biggest needs this offseason? So let's start with defensive end.
You seem to think that my needs list is gonna draw critiques from the comment section.
I want to see what the comments are going to say here. So Tom's team needs ranking. We start with the #1 position in terms of need this offseason. Tom sticks with defensive end, which I believe was last year's as well.
It is, but it's also because of free agency matters. Like I think it's foolish to say, oh, well, we just assume Tank Lawrence is going to be back, therefore it's not a need. I like to take things one step at a time. Once he gets tagged, this is really not much of a need anymore. It does drop down. But I also look ahead a little bit here. Like, let's say even if you bring back Tanks, Tyrone Crawford and Benson Miller both could be cut. And at that point, you're left with Taco Charlton, Charles Tapper, and Dayton Jones. Like, so depth all of a sudden does become a bit of an issue, especially because Tapper can't stay healthy.
Sandra says, whatever you think we need to do the opposite. LOL.
Wow.
Not very nice, Sandra.
It's funny, though.
But appreciate you watching, of course, because obviously you're getting a lot of great information here. All right, here's the depth chart of the defensive end. Lawrence, Crawford has 3 years left, but you think him and Mayo could be on the cutting block.
And
then you've got the younger guys of Taco and Tapper.
Yeah, I think in the end here, as long as you bring back Tank Lawrence, you're in great shape in the end because you're going to have that. You have to bring him back. If he leaves for some reason, this does become the #1 need because who's your go-to pass rusher? Yeah. You know, we'll talk about David Irving here on defensive tackle because that's where he's mostly played. But Benson Mayo is not a great player. Crawford's more of a run stopper. If you do lose Tank, it's a huge need, but we do think he's going to be back.
All right, Tom, we get this question every week, so let's go ahead and address it. Oh, God, Adrian is wondering what's going on with Randy Gregory.
Just assume he's never going to play again. Like, if he comes back, cool, but we've heard nothing about Randy Gregory. He needs to get his life in order rather than focus on football. So just assume this is more of a Justin Blackman case. Sticking on the defensive line, Xavier wondering, is Taco a bust? It's too early? Too early. And he showed some stuff later in the season. He did finish with a handful of sacks. He's not going to be a #1 edge rusher because you typically don't find that late in the first round. Michael is standing up for Sandra, saying that she was talking to another commenter. Oh. So, Sandra, if that's the case, cool. Context is often lost in the Facebook comments. It really is. So, it really is. Sorry about that. She says I wasn't talking to you guys. Oh, thank you. All right, we appreciate you watching. That makes me feel better. I needed that. This sounded good. All right, before we get too far off the rails, let's get into team needs #2. And Tom, you're sticking on the defensive line here. Look, we have already made it very clear that I am madly in love with Vita Vea. Wow, I wish you wouldn't have said it because commenter is madly in love with Vita Vea as well. Who is it? What's his name? Daniel and Jeanette. You're my boy. Well, it could be Jeanette. Joint account. You are my friend's joint account right there because I love him. And nose guard is a massive need. Look, we mentioned David Irving. If he comes back, I don't think you need a 3 technique. And also, Malik Collins is a 3 technique. That's kind of more of the pass rushing defensive tackle. So you'll see some mock drafts mocking like a guy like Maurice Hurst or something along those lines. I think 3 technique is fine if you keep Irving and or Collins. So Tom, you're saying there's a chance of keeping that Michigan pipeline going? Yes, I am saying that. But I look at nose guard, where Stephen Paea is retired / a free agent. He's probably not going to come back. Yeah. Brian Price is a nice backup guy. Richard Ash is a nice backup as well. Lewis Neal is an undersized defensive end playing defensive tackle. Like, they have no nose guard. So I think it's a huge need. And I think once they've tag or extend DeMarcus Lawrence, then defensive tackle becomes, okay, we got to get something here at one of those spots. I would go get a true run stuffer, let Collins and or Irving remain that 3 technique. But you could see the Cowboys say, now we're going to make Collins into a nose guard because I don't really know why. Because the Cowboys just love to play people out of position, as we'll discuss throughout the show. Tom, the theme of your team needs here is defense. It is. Even though the Cowboys' defense, I felt, was improved the second half of the season. You're absolutely right, but free agency matters. Free agency matters. So in terms of free agency mattering, everybody, the Cowboys have the most amount of free agents on the defensive side of the ball. That's where they need to do the most re-signing, if you will. So let's take a look at the linebacker position here. Of course, there's Sean Lee, Tom. He does have 2 years left. Jalen Smith does as well. Then you've got Hitchens, Wilson, and Wilbur, which is where your depth really comes into play. And we'll get to slide 2 here in just a minute. But it would be great overall if you had Sean Lee and Jalen Smith with no injury concerns. If that was the case, this really wouldn't be much of a need because those are 2 high-talented, high-potential linebackers, but how much do you actually trust them to stay healthy, Brett?
Yeah.
Exactly. So then you're left with your main backup being Anthony Hitchens, who is really kind of a starter. He's a free agent, and there's a good chance I think he leaves and gets more money elsewhere. Damian Wilson is whatever. Kyle Wilbur is a special teams guy. Justin Durant's not any good. So now all of a sudden you have Anthony Hitchens questionable, concerns about the health of Lee and Jalen Smith, and now you need at least one more guy that you can start. And you got to fill out your depth because there is not depth right now for the linebacker spot at Cowboys.
Yeah, I mean, the injuries matter so much at that position for the Cowboys. All right, let's talk a little bit on the offensive side of the game. All right, guard. That is a position of need, definitely.
Free agency matters here because, yeah, you're going to have Zach Martin coming back. But then you look at the other guard spot. Jonathan Cooper is a free agent. Top backup Joe Looney is a free agent. Kadeem Edwards is a career backup with 1 year left, and he might not even make the roster. He might be a practice squad guy or whatever. So if you re-sign Jonathan Cooper, this need plummets all the way down. If you go sign somebody else, the need plummets. But free agency matters.
Well, even if you re-sign, sorry to cut you off, but even if you re-sign Jonathan Cooper.
Fair question. Look, they clearly miss Ron Leary. And I think that's fair because Leary's a really good player. And had it not been for the knee concerns coming out of the draft, he probably would have been second, third, fourth round pick, somewhere in that range. So offensive guard is a big need because as things sit right now, you don't have anyone at left guard because you just can't assume that Cooper's going to come back. So that's where I sit with guard being a need.
Any movement on the Zach Martin contract?
Not a whole lot on that end. I would be surprised if he's not extended. It's going to happen, but I think in reality, when Tank Lawrence started playing so well, he became the priority over Zach Martin.
Yeah. All right, Tom. Everybody wants to talk about this position.
Yep.
Number 5 here on your team needs rankings is wide receiver.
And again, they're a little bit lower because as things sit with free agency, they don't have anyone really outside of Bryce Butler. And I've mentioned before, Butler is whatever. So Des Bryant, I don't think he's going to get cut. I think he comes back. Terrence Williams will be back. It's a question of whether or not he gets demoted. Cole Beasley is a cut option, as we mentioned on last week's Cowboys Report. Switzer's going to come back. Noah Brown will be back as the 5th receiver. That in reality, unless you cut Cole and or Dez, that leaves you with one spot to really fill on your depth chart. And I think you could definitely see the Cowboys spend a first or second or third, worst case, round pick on a receiver in this year's draft. So, look, you got some guys on futures deals that whatever. We saw Lance Norm botch a punt in the preseason. Katie Cannon is fast, but he kept getting cut by a bunch of teams because he's a head case. So
yeah, Katie Cannon's such an interesting.
He's a name.
He was paid by the Niners as an undrafted free agent, which was pretty unique. And he got cut within a matter of days.
Because the Niners were like, hey, if you're not going to show up and try, see ya. We don't need you, which was a big move by Kyle Shanahan.
So see a lot of comments coming through, quote, trade Dez. Trading Dez is probably the least likely thing that would happen.
I mean, who wants that contract?
Yeah.
Like, I get that. Ooh, the Dez has the upside of being the Dez Bryant we all know and have loved, but who's going to take on that contract? Like the Niners could, but they could also be like, it's just too pricey for a guy that's really not playing like a true number 1 wide receiver.
All right, reaction poll time. How should the Cowboys upgrade at wide receiver? Give it a heart for a first-round pick, wow face for a cheap free agent, which probably doesn't do you too much. Maybe that's your Bryce Butler option. Expensive free agent, ha-ha face. Jarvis Landry, anybody? I'm sure, just trying to get some comments going. All right, and then a like for a mid-round pick. Tom, first-round pick, who are you looking at? Calvin Ridley?
If you're going receiver, you would love if Calvin Ridley's on the board. If Ridley's on the board, I think you absolutely do it because he is exactly what Dak Prescott needs. He's not a Des Bryant type. He's not a Mike Evans type, but he gets open.
Yep.
And that's what you want to see if you're the Cowboys. You need a guy who gets open on his own rather than jump balls or gets thrown open. That's not really where Dak thrives. Ridley would be great. I'd keep an eye on Christian Kirk.
I like the Texas A&M product.
He'd be a dynamic option. I also think in the end, especially if a guy like Vita Vea is there or a linebacker that the Cowboys love, you could see them wait till like round 2 on a receiver and look in that direction.
And if you're in,
find some guys there.
Yeah, if you're in round 2, you're thinking Michael Gallup from Colorado State.
I would like Gallup. He's a little similar to Dez in the sense that he's not always going to separate really well, but he is going to be a guy who you'll like because he makes a bunch of highlight plays, and I know he is a blast to watch. It's a great class if you need a number 2 receiver, and I think that's what the Cowboys are going to approach what they need this offseason at receiver. They're going to keep Dez at the 1, and they're going to go out and get a better version of Terrence Williams.
All right, that's 5 teams.
Anthony Miller, Memphis. Keep an eye on him. He's good.
Yeah, I saw a comment actually about Anthony Miller.
Commenters are on point today. I like it.
Love you guys. All right, number 6 on the team needs, safety.
How much can I rant on the secondary right now?
Yeah, a little bit. There's been quite a few comments about it, so I think that people want to talk about safety.
For starters, the Cowboys don't know what to do with Byron Jones, and it's so frustrating. Now, he does have 2 years left, but an asterisk on that. One of those is his extra year for being a first-round pick as a team option. Haven't picked it up yet. That'll be decided later in the year. So we assume they'll pick it up, and they actually might not because it's kind of expensive for a safety position. But they moved to corner, but we'll get to that later. Jeff Heath, we know my thoughts on Jeff Heath. If you've watched the show before, he's a nice number 3 safety. He's not a starter. Xavier Woods continues to play out of position at slot corner because the Cowboys just love to take guys as a safety and move them somewhere else or vice versa. He's a safety. I would like an impact safety, and I think what you might see the Cowboys do is either A, kind of ignore the position altogether, B, go big. It's kind of a go big or go home right now for the Cowboys at safety unless they move Byron Jones. And I think in the end, they're going to keep trying to put Byron Jones at strong safety, let Xavier Woods do whatever he decides to do, and then have Jeff Heath be the free safety for some reason because I don't really know why he's a free safety. He should be in the box, but Xavier Woods is a free safety. But that's beside the point. I'm getting off topic. I think in the end, it's impact safety or bust. I wouldn't mind a guy like Derwin James in round 1 if he's there. Because I do think Derwin is actually more of a strong safety right now, but he's going to be the impact guy you want.
Give Tom a follow at WhatGoingDowney on Twitter. He will give you his thoughts regarding the Cowboys secondary much more than I'm going to let him today. Yeah. We've talked about it just about every week on the Cowboys Report.
Not every week.
And I like to give him a hard time about it. All right, let's go to number 7 here, offensive tackle, because, well, we saw what happens when Tyron Smith gets hurt.
Look, you need depth, man. Like, that's where we're at with offensive tackle, and it's Tyron Smith is still signed for 6 years, by the way, which is kind of insane to think about.
Crazy.
No one has that type of deal left on him in the NFL. Lael Collins is under contract for 2 more years. Those are your starters, but you got to get a new swing tackle. Chaz Green was horrendous. I think he gets cut, and Byron Bell, frankly, wasn't that much better. You have got to find a new swing tackle. I don't care if that's a veteran free agent or even like a round 3 or 4 pick. You got to spend it on somebody this year because it is not working with your depth.
You know, Tom, you're not exactly going to mince your words here.
No.
I'm going to quote you as soon as we get the graphic up, and that's Byron Bell and Chaz Green are awful.
Yeah, they are not good. Like I don't think anyone in the comments is going to disagree with that. We saw them play all year.
Yeah.
Byron Bell is a guard, and they put him at left tackle. Like Chaz Green, I don't know what happened to Chaz Green because he was actually okay early in his career, and then it just all fell apart on him. And I think at this point his confidence is shattered. I would be surprised if he made the 53-man roster next year.
All right, let's go back to the defensive side of the ball. And, Tom, you're sticking in the secondary with another cornerback as team need number 8.
These are definitely getting into kind of more of the depth and go big or go home type needs with safety and corner. I am a huge fan of Chidobe Awuzie. I love Jordan Lewis. Those are your 2 long-term starters. When in reality, you have 3 starters at cornerback.
Yeah.
That's kind of what teams do. Nickel is so prevalent in the NFL. Brown, I continue to say is better as a 4th corner. I'm kind of concerned the Cowboys going to say, nah, he can be our 3rd. It's fine. And I don't know if I like that too much. You got Orlando Scandrick, who I am very confident is going to be cut. I'll be stunned if he's on the roster. He's either going to be cut or traded. His contract is really not all that bad. And then you got some other guys on the depth chart. Ben-Wickery is a free agent. Marquez White, I like. He's a bigger corner, but he kind of taps out, I think, as a number 2 in the best case scenario. I like Duke Thomas, but he was hurt all last year. He's not a guy that you want to count on. So what I would like to see happen, Brett, and this is just me talking.
We're letting you talk about the secondary again.
Thank you. I would move Byron Jones to corner because that's what he was at UConn. He played some corner. He was drafted as a cornerback / free safety, and the Cowboys made him a strong safety, and I don't really know why. And frankly, he's your best cover man. Like he can stop tight ends. He can hold up against receivers too. And Byron Jones in the end is a bigger corner. That's what I would like to see with the Cowboys. Awuzie is one outside guy. We've seen Jordan Lewis be able to play as an outside corner, but his best position is in the slot. So if you can spend an early round pick or just move Byron Jones down there, then you've got Awuzie, a big corner, and Jordan Lewis in the slot. Anthony Brown as your dime corner. That's a really good cornerback class and a young one too.
A lot of people agree with the Byron Jones to corner. Cowboys, of course, without a defensive backs coach right now, so could that matter?
Yes and no, and I think I'm curious who they end up hiring in the end because it could impact what they kind of target for in corner if they want to go to more man or stick with more zone. I do have to mention this, though, Brett. Wayne in the comments section says Jones is too slow for corner. The dude ran a 4.36 at the combine.
Hey-o.
He's the fastest player on the Cowboys. Like,
and don't give me that Ryan Switzer. Ryan Switzer.
It's not.
It's not Ryan Switzer.
Ryan Switzer is quick, not fast. Byron Jones is not too slow for corner.
There you go. All right. Number 9 on the team needs rankings of this offseason. Running back, need a little bit of depth there.
Or depth. This is solely a depth pick. You're not going to spend a high pick on a halfback because Zeke's not going anywhere. Alfred Morris, though, might be gone. He's a free agent. He might try and get some more work because he signed with the Cowboys before they drafted Zeke. Don't forget that. And then he's like, oh, crap, now I'm a backup again.
And we've kind of gotten on the Rod Smith bandwagon.
I like Rod Smith.
More than Alfred anyway.
Look, if you're not going to...
Hey, Tom, do you remember the people that wanted Alfred Morris to start over Ezekiel Elliott last year?
God, that was fun time. Or McFadden.
You guys are silly.
Yeah, all right. But, look, when you sit here with the team needs in the end, I think if you do anything, you add a young third round or a young draft pick. And they almost took Donnell Pumphrey because they wanted a return guy who could also play halfback.
Yeah. So, Tom, in terms of silliness, and before we unveil our 10th team need, I'm seeing a lot of discussion on whether or not Dak Prescott is the issue. Someone definitely came in and saying get rid of Dak. There have been a lot of backers of Dak, and we here on the Cowboys Report, me and Tom, are backers of Dak as well. Dak Prescott is not the problem. So, without further ado, number 10 on our team needs of this offseason, tight end.
This is, again, I put this low because I don't think Dallas is going to address this position. Jason Witten, technically speaking, has 4 years left on his contract. And he's not going to play all 4 years, so eventually retire, and then it's not going to be any dead money. I don't think James Hannah's going to be back. I think he'll be cut. Jeff Swaim I like as a backup. And I do think, by the way, Brett, that Rico Gathers is going to get his shot this year to prove that he can be a long-term option at tight end. The Cowboys didn't take a tight end in last year's loaded class. I think that they're not going to take one early this year. That's where I kind of sit with tight end. You could see a draft pick here, but I'd actually be a little bit surprised if they passed on one last year.
Yeah, I mean, Rico Gathers is going to get his shot. You know, we saw him in the preseason, a lot of hype. Then there was the injury. And whether or not he was an IR stash remains to be seen, of course.
Kind of was, kind of wasn't.
Yep. So he's going to get his chance. And with Jason Witten there to mentor, I think it's a good year to do that.
It is. And I think if Rico doesn't take a big step forward, then next year you look at tight end. You focus on other needs because you're okay right now with Jason Witten as your starter and Swaim as your backup.
All right, those are our team needs this offseason. Recap here. At number 1, you've got defensive end, Tom, sticking on defense, defensive tackle, linebacker. And then you move over to the offensive side of the ball with a left guard, wide receiver. And then we move back over into the secondary with safety. Maybe another left tackle as some depth.
Give me the swing tackle, baby. The
cornerback,
backup.
Running back, and tight end in the depth section of the needs.